I thought it was going to begin with like, what a horrible dream, like those awful shows.
No,
what's the name of a show that did that? I feel like that's the kind of knowledge you would have.
Well, no, you got to go back to like the 90s TV shows, like not specifically Quantum Leap, but TV shows from that cut from that same cloth to get episodes where they actually just wake up. Now I will say this, in the Star Trek universe, the final episode of Star Trek Enterprise reveals that everything we've seen the past 5 seasons, I believe, of this TV show was a different Star Trek character from a different Star Trek TV show watching a hologram, watching a holographic projection, and like watching the historical
records. I don't like that.
Because he's a couple hundred years ahead, right? So it's William Riker goes, that was great to see how things were back then. Well, back to fucking green bitches and running shit. And he just like walks off the holodeck, and you're like, bro, I don't know if I like that.
Like wait, so nothing was at stake?
Well, it was all at stake, but they like kind of like
back then. Yeah, that seems like they fumbled it.
Of course they fumbled it. Yeah. But no, that's the only example that I can think of where at the end they kind of pull the rug out that, oh yeah, like this was, I mean, it kind of didn't happen the way
they love using their show to set up their next one.
Yeah. Well, see, they did it in reverse here though. This was reversed though. This was like Riker had been canceled for years, right? Like that uniform didn't fit. And you know, he was wearing the old school uniform. It didn't even make sense. But I like the new Star Trek. Like if I wanted to tell somebody these days who wanted, like, if they were like, hey, I kind of want to get into Star Trek. I just think the uniforms look cool, and I know that like women are really into Star Trek. Yeah. No, absolutely not. Stay away from that. Stay away from that woke ass shit. Unless you're a lady or you know, another. But if you want to watch Star Trek Discovery, I would say that's more for ladies and others.
So you're saying Picard?
Oh, that's just a slap in the face to all of us as Star Trek fans. That is bottom 2 Star Treks ever. Maybe bottom Star Trek ever is Picard. It might be worse than Discovery because you take such beloved characters and like rub dirt and doo-doo on their face. It's like it's like if they did Lord of the Rings. It's like if they're like, we're making Lord of the Rings 2, Return of the King Part 2, and the like, I don't know, Arwen just gets like dirty dicked by some like goblins or something at the beginning.
It's literally, it would actually be like if Lord of the Rings came back and you got to see Frodo's life, and everyone's like, fuck you, Frodo, can't believe what you did after the ring. And he's like, he looks at the camera, he's like, you don't know what I did after the ring, do you? It was pretty bad.
I don't want to get it. I don't want to get into like a whole nerdy thing here, but like Captain, like Patrick Stewart, you've probably seen like memes of him as Captain Picard, and like the way he played that character was very serious. He didn't think of it as a silly role. He's a dramatically trained actor, so he played it seriously, and he's sort of like this space diplomat who thinks and talks his way out of things, and he comes to the table with reason.
He's literally a superhero, as far as superhero as a regular human could be.
Yeah,
not counting Batman, but yeah,
he's the negotiator. Like he's the smartest guy in the room. I think 100%.
I tell people he's the type of guy that could sit down with like Yoda and Palpatine and negotiate a truce between the Jedi and the Sith.
For sure.
And he's just a guy, but he literally is like, there's some things you guys should talk about.
Yeah. So then they have him in this new show, and it's okay that Patrick Stewart is a very old man. He's, you know, pushing 90 or whatever. You can work around that. Put him in that goddamn chair and have him point forward and have him outthink some fucking aliens. Instead, they got him like limping, jogging upstairs with 30 cuts. And I think they had him on a toilet with his pants down. And it's like, get out of here. So none of that. But if you want to watch good Star Trek, it's Brave New Worlds. There's this new show that's got Captain Pike. I've talked about it before. Yeah. That is an amazing show. That is so good. It's brand new Star Trek with young, new actors for the most part, and it's spectacular. I have
a question about it, Kyle.
Yes.
All right. So there are 2 kinds of Star Treks, according to me. One is Star Trek Next Generation, like you pointed out. And that to me is office worker Star Trek, right? Where what they're really looking for are people who are good at calculus, people who make good decisions, people who are diplomats, etc. Then there's the movie Star Trek, my favorite, where they're like, look, we got a problem that we need solving. Anyone here good at base jumping motocross with hand-to-hand combat skills? That's the kind of Star Trek that I like. I like it when fucking Captain Kirk hops on a dirt bike to create a diversion, right? Which one is this?
This is a good mixture of the two. And I think the captain is a very interesting mixture of former captains, right? Like he's definitely a thinking guy, and it seems like he's more into delegating and like having his team go out and do shit. And his hair is just so fucking on point. It's a thing of beauty. Show me Captain Pike's hair, please. This is, I've told you about this. This is the guy who knows his future and knows he's going to get his face melted and be in a wheelchair, and all he's going to communicate with beeps and boops. He's like R2D2 with an ugly face. He knows that's coming, but he's going to allow it to happen because he knows how many people are going to live. He knows their names. He knows the names of the children who will live. And he kind of like lives with that day to day. But that's like 10 years from, oh my God, look at that.
Damn.
That's a man.
I gotta check this
now
show
me that smoke show with a beard. Show me. Google this. Captain Pike with beard.
Naked.
Well, he's shirtless. Don't worry.
This is Star Trek Strange New Worlds, right?
Strange New Worlds. I said,
I didn't watch this one, but I've heard great things. And I even watched, like, there's actually quite a few more Star Treks, like what you're talking about, Woody. They've kind of expanded into more because, that's great.
Could knock him
they
out.
did, like, when I first got Star Trek, like, I saw the trailer for the J.J. Abrams movie where the kid was like playing Beastie Boys and like driving in the old school car and the fast car, like the cop super bike reaches up to him and the kid's like so fast in the car, like shifting gears, and he jumps out and the cop's like, what's your name? And he's like, my name's James Kirk. And
James Tiberius Kirk.
Yeah, I was like, this is sick. Cool, I'll check it out. J.J. Abrams gets things excited, gets me excited for things. Doesn't always see it to the end. But I saw that. I was like, oh, Star Trek's cool. I'm going to go check out Star Trek. I'm ready in my life to watch a mature space show, whatever it may be. No idea what it was. I put on Star Trek, the original series, and tried. I tried.
This is the oldest one with Shatner.
The oldest one, yeah. And it just was not for me. I couldn't do it. Everything about it to me sucked at the time. Then I went to Next Generation, and I actually couldn't do it. I didn't like Next Generation. And then my buddy I told him, I was like, I didn't like Next Generation. He's like, yeah, you have to start when Riker has a beard. If you're watching before Riker has the beard, you're there too early. So it's literally season 3 is where it finds its footing. And now if anyone ever wanted to watch, any of you fucking losers listening to this podcast right now, you want to watch it,
but there's not fat.
Go to you fit fucking, you know what? You're not fat, but you were always skinny. You're weak and you're you're deadlifting a bunch it doesn't matter, you little fucking pushover. You're still a skinny fucking weakling loser. You make me sick. You're a bitch, and I don't care if you don't like when I'm
with
on
your dribbly, watery cum loads.
Yes, so true.
This Next Generation, I use a watch list. Guy listening at home, use the watch list. Watch the best episodes, the best order if you want. Then you'll go back and watch a whole bunch. But I always loved Darmok and Jalada Tanagra. But long story short, that was a whole type of Star Trek.
When the walls fell.
And then Voyager and Deep Space, they're kind of like Next Generation. No, he's right. Temba, his arms wide.
What's the next part? It was like something. His
Shaka, when the walls fell, Temba, his arms wide. Yeah. Anyways, it's a great episode. But then the other ones are kind of like that too. And then the Star Trek movies, like I really like the ones with Picard, but you could still go watch Wrath of Khan, because that one's old Star Trek. But what's so cool about it is like the whole thing's filmed in like one fucking room, and somehow it's an amazing movie. It's a cheap ass fucking movie, Wrath of Khan, but I like it.
Yes. Wrath of Khan uses a lot of shots from the movie before.
Oh, does
it? Actually, no, it's the other one. It's the next one. Search for Spock reuses some Wrath of Khan shots.
Okay.
But
I didn't watch. I never saw. I only watched Wrath of Khan during pandemic because I couldn't deal with old school Star Trek. And I liked the J.J. Abrams movies. They were like fun, but not like how Star Trek is. Star Trek is like, what's fun is like when like something happens in Next Generation and you kind of like pause it or you finish it after and you're like, huh, what would I do? And like, sometimes a scenario happens and you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what Picard's going to do, because you like and you admire how he thinks and how he approaches problems and problem solving. Now they're a bit more action oriented. They like Discovery is like a whole bunch of action scenes and like high stakes stuff that it's like there's not even a philosophical question. So it's like the philosophical Star Trek and then the action Star Trek. And I don't know where Strange New Worlds is at, but I watched Star Trek Prodigy, which was and I watched the first episode. I meant to go back, but I was like, oh, that was fun.
Thing, right?
Yeah. I was like, that was fun. It wasn't philosophical Sar Trek.
No,
it was like the other one, but it was kind of fun.
Star Trek is one of my areas of study. The original TV show is sort of unwatchable, in my opinion. It's worth going back if you admire things like the filming locations outside Los Angeles and noticing that's, hey, I've seen Little House on the Prairie. They just put aluminum foil on the rocks. Like, I've been there. Like, we shot my stupid YouTube video out there. Everything's shot out there on those fucking rocks. They just throw aluminum foil on it. So it's almost unwatchable. The one I mentioned, Strange New Worlds, I believe, they bring the Gorn back, who is that laughable enemy from 1969, that man in the green rubber suit. The Gorn are the scariest fucking thing in this new show. Like, they use human bodies to they put their eggs in them. It sounds like they rape people with their egg sacs or something. They sort of dance around exactly what they're going to do to these people. But like, there's one person who was like the only survivor from a Gorn attack, and she's got like PTSD and she gets all shaky when they deal with them. And anytime they deal with them, it's just life or death. It's not like, I don't know, well, fire the phasers. It's like, run into the sun, fly into the sun. They literally fly into the sun. Like, deeper. It's like one of those submarine movies where they got to go deeper. They're doing that, but with the fucking sun, because the Gorn are after them. It's that scary. And no, I like that one a lot. Next Generation, like you said, very philosophical. The Drumhead is one of the better episodes. That's when they bring aboard this like Federation prosecutor, and she's looking for fucking malfeasance. There's like an accident aboard, and the and just, oh, it was an accident isn't good enough. She's like, oh, conspiracy is afoot, and she like infects the security officer. She's like, Worf, I need you to be in charge of this investigation. There are saboteurs afoot, and all of a sudden it gets very militarized, and Picard's being squeezed out because she's called 3 admirals, and they're going to have a big like military like tribunal or whatever, and she's over there all hoity-toity. And Picard just walks in front of him. No. And just fucking lays it out there. Just lays it down. Brings up these historical references and fucking points fingers and hurts feelings. And when it's done, she's a jabbering mess. And all the admirals walk out of the room without she's disgraced. Everybody walks out.
Is this Next
Generation?
The Next Generation, yeah.
And Worf is like an Urukai, by the way. So if you put him in charge of security, that's cool. But now imagine your Urukai is like trying to lead everything.
Yeah, he apologizes to Picard after that one. He apologizes.
Oh yeah, because he's a half elf, half Urukai.
It's true. He apologizes twice. He apologizes another time. When when Data has to take command. He like speaks out of turn in front of the crew, and Data takes him in the back. And he's like, if you can't perform your duties, I'm gonna relieve you of your of them. You know, he's like, well, what have I done wrong? He's like, you question my orders in front of the crew. You'd never question Captain Picard's orders in front of the crew. Not like that, you wouldn't. And he's like, God damn it, you're right, Data. I'm sorry.
Data's like a break. That's like a breakout character.
Data goes, I hope this hasn't ruined our friendship, Mr. Worf. And Data goes, it is I who endangered our friendship. And they like bro out so hard that you know that they've coalesced so much now that when they go back out into that room, oh, we're all working now.
I love that shit.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, Kyle, because I was about to start this show last night, because I was looking for something on HBO because I just rebought HBO
Ooh.
to watch The Last of Us, which we can get to in a sec because I thought that was super good. And I was looking through the sci-fi section on there to see what series they had.
Yes.
Babylon 5. Is that a good series? Is it stupid? Is
That's
it because I scrolled past it and it was like a deep space opera that's dramatic, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of enticing to me.
So
maybe try it.
So I don't want to offend the one Babylon 5 fan out there.
Oh, it's bad.
No. I think it's excellent, but it's outdated because of what it's shot on and because of some of the special effects. And it was really good for its time. And I'll tell you how it's best enjoyed. It's best enjoyed through YouTube snippets of a couple of the more conniving characters being devious to one another. Like there's a lot of Game of Thrones-esque. There's scenes of Game of Thrones where like Viserys and Littlefinger would be in some fucking boardroom, like trading barbs.
Yeah, I love
There's
that.
some great scenes like that in there. Like but then like I don't know, there's some spaceship policing and then they show the exterior of the ship and it's like, man, I can't watch this show. I'm sorry, it doesn't look good enough anymore. But again, there are some YouTube clips of like one. I don't know the characters' names, but there's this one guy who has this ridiculous. He's an alien. He has this silly haircut with like 2 different stripes of hair on either side of his head that go like from front to back, and he's like telling this guy you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that and you're gonna do this, and he's like, why would I do any of that? He's like, well, for one thing, that thing you just drank, well, that's a bomb. There's a tiny bomb in that drink you just drank, and anytime I want, I can detonate. It's the size of 8 molecules, or whatever he says. I can blow you up anytime. And you know what the best part? If you ever try to take it out, I get a notification, and then I'll kill you then. And it's something like that. And I just like the way he delivered it, like so maniacally. I was like, oh man, this could be a good show.
Yeah,
but
you should watch Battlestar.
Can't do it.
I'd be like,
Battlestar Galactica is the show. All right.
I followed up that drink with some frosted mini wheats, and that shit will be out by lunchtime.
Yeah, I'm gonna drink 40 ounces of coffee, and then you're gonna be looking for your little valuable piece of equipment in the toilet.
So yeah, that's a thumbs up as a good series with great writing and an amazing story, and it's groundbreaking in many ways. Yeah, okay. For sure. But it's a thumbs down as far as should you watch
Battlestar Galactica, you say?
That's 10 on 10.
That's 10 out of 10, especially like the first couple of 3
Even
seasons.
better than Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica is going to end. It's going to give you a conclusion, which you would never get from the Star Trek universe.
And without spoiling it all, that ending was really good, and I liked it. And
it was okay.
I saw what they did. Oh, okay.
I vibe with Woody on that. I was kind of like, I am an idiot.
Oh, you like the whole full circle thing? Like that I'm fine with. I just thought, without getting too spoily about Battlestar Galactica, there was a point where it was like, is everyone a Cylon? Like, who isn't? Who here's show me the real humans. Because for a while it was like,
have you ever played that board game?
There's one of them amongst us.
The Battlestar Galactica?
The end, it's like, no, of course not.
So the Battlestar Galactica board game is so sick because you choose your character, whoever you want to be, and then everyone gets a card that says you're not a Cylon. But someone will get a card, most likely at least one person will get a card that says you are a Cylon. If you're the character Gaius, who you want to play as, there are some pros and cons for every character. Gaius gets 2 shots at maybe being a Cylon. So whoever's playing Gaius, you're like, they're probably a Cylon. He has 2 fucking cards, which it goes well with the show.
And if he's really not one, then it really is great for the actual 2 Cylons.
And what's really crazy is you start to like politic with one another, and you're like, I should be the president for whatever reason, or someone will be like, I should be leading the military for whatever reason. And you vote who is the most trustworthy. And sometimes the most trustworthy person has proven themselves by doing these missions. And you're like, he's definitely not a Cylon. So you vote him as president. Maybe you vote him as head of military too. And then halfway through the point, there's a certain moment where Cylon cards are given out again. So now you find out that you are a Cylon, and you have been the whole time, like the show, and maybe you were the president or someone, and you're like, and you start looking at each other.
This seems like fun.
Do you know the lore of Battlestar Galactica? Because I can lay it out in like 8 seconds.
I know. Pretend I don't know a thing.
Pretend
I know nothing.
You've got a spacefaring human society that's colonized many worlds of a single star system, and they can bounce around between them. they have these war vessels called battle stars that are kind of outclassed. They're essentially space aircraft carriers, and they were the real hammer of like human might during the Cylon Wars, which is when they fought their robot slaves that went rogue, which for the longest time were like walking toasters. They even call them as such. And every like, I don't know, 10 years since the war, they maybe one every year, maybe like a human rep shows up in case the Cylons want to talk at a designated location, and they wait on them to show up and talk. It hasn't happened for like, I don't know, 180 years, 90 years. We haven't even seen them since the war and the peace was declared. All of a sudden, you know, the human shows up. He's some like military bureaucrat sitting there at the table, waiting on nobody to show up like they have every other day of his career. And a spaceship docks. And he's like, wait, what? Who's what? And they dock, and the doors slide open, and in walk these two imposing warrior bots. They do the best they can. And then walks the sexiest blonde woman you've ever seen in a red fucking dress, maybe. She will be later on if she's not already wearing it. And she walks up to this motherfucker and like grabs his cheek and kisses him. And then you zoom out to the whole fucking spaceship exploding. All of it explodes, and the war has begun. And the Cylons are back, and they look like us, but nobody knows that. And they've been, a version of her has interworked into the humans' entire defense network. So there's a judgment day that comes, sort of where 95% of all of humanity, at least, is just killed. Nuclear war, it rains down. Our own weapons used against us in some cases, and everything is gone. And the only humans left, for the most part, are running and gunning on like military vessels and civilian vessels that have formed a fleet. But the Cylons aren't just starting a war; they're exterminating humanity. In their machine minds, they decided they all have to go. That's the only way. So they're continuously chasing the human fleet, and the way their faster than light travel works, it's these jumps. They have to do their math, and then instantly sort of appear a few light years away, whatever it is. Every time they jump, they start a clock. This is episode like 3. You can see nobody has slept in days. Everybody, circles under their eyes. The clock has begun. It's ticking down. Like every 25 minutes, they have to jump again because the Cylons are jumping right behind them. And every time they can only jump so fast. That's the problem. They got to recharge and go again. And the Cylons are catching up on them. Every time every time they reset and jump again, the Cylons have caught them and been fighting them a little bit longer, a couple seconds longer. They shoot their missiles off, and the missiles are coming for them, and they jump. That's how close they are behind them. It's the remnants of humanity running, and they're trying to establish a government between the civilians and the military. It's a very
and they're pointing at everyone on the ship being like, you're a fucking Cylon, or someone does something weird and they're like, why are you lying? Are you a Cylon? And like everyone's like, bro, this guy's like, I literally would call whenever a friend fucked up the night or did something like drop the joint, we'd all be like, you fucking Cylon, we should throw you in the airlock.
They have to figure out who
the joint.
They have to figure out who the president is. They have to figure out who the president of the colonies is, because they had like a structure like that. The education secretary happens to be the last remaining in the line of succession, and she's aboard the school ship. And they're like, Madam President, and she's like, oh shit. Yeah, and the
Admiral
Admiral is played
James
by
Olmos.
Edward James Olmos.
Yeah,
man, he lost the battle against acne, but he never lost against the Cylons. God damn it, he took it tooth and nail. And that man somehow made himself look fit for those boxing scenes later on in season 3.
I got
It sounds good. It sounds like a very interesting